Okay, so it looks like we have our players ready. Today we have the pleasure of bringing a six-player community invitational. We had a lot of players sign up for this event, but only six were chosen. So congratulations to the players that were able to participate today. Just for being here today and playing, they're going to all receive 500 gems. The winner, however, will receive an extra 1,000 gems for a total of 1,500 total. I'm so happy to be able to say that I'm joined here by Alexis. Alexis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, so we have the players in the lobby. We can have them go ahead and launch. As soon as they do, we will join after they select their captain and make it to turn one, and we'll get straight into it. As soon as we start this first game, I'm going to start a 1 hour timer, and we're going to complete any game that we start, and it's going to be a point system. 5 points for first, 3 points for second place, 1 point for third place, and no points for any other placement. So, players, just let me know when you're ready. We already have the lobby code.
Just from a technical perspective, I will say I did accidentally refresh Discord, so if that reset anything you did with my volume, you will have to change that again.
Okay, let me check.
I'm only mentioning this because one of the chatters mentioned my volume again.
You still sound good on my end. I think it's okay,
Okay.
but
All right.
somebody else can confirm. They're
All
in
right. We're
turn
on
one. Okay.
turn one, and please work. Please work. Oh no. Okay. Whew, there we go. Who would we like to spectate first?
Um,
Oh no. What happened?
I
Somebody did somebody click battle? Please tell me somebody didn't click battle while we were trying to get in there. Okay, never mind. I'm looking at Flash of Blades. If you hit concede again, maybe it'll work.
okay, we'll try.
One more time.
Okay, flash of blades. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. The spectate client is a work in progress. Thank you to Alexis for having it even available at all for us today. So if we have any issues, apologies, but we'll do the best we can with it. Okay, so we're ready to go, players. I'm starting the timer right now. And yeah, 1 hour. Good luck, everybody. We're spectating Flash of Blades, who has selected Professor Who's Who and going with the Plunder Penny start and loses a close one here. Okay, very happy to see the silver plunder penny, of course. What do you do out of a shop with those three characters? It looks like you go with the stepmother with the quest, but no villains in the following shop. There's an egg. You know I love the mysterious egg, Alexis.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about the egg here with the puck on the board already too.
It is a little tricky when you're on a cracked heart. You feel a bit less confident putting a 0-1 onto your board. You can support it in front of the puck. I think I would do it, but I can understand not going for it here.
Had we known we were up against Skip, that would have made that decision a lot easier, I think. But
Absolutely agree, yeah.
how do you feel about the Thorn pick? That wasn't even on my radar. I was thinking maybe the baby dragon to preserve health, but
Yeah, if I was going to take a lower stat character, I personally would have gone for the egg. Of course, Thorn is a great pickup. I don't mind it, but yeah, it caught me a little bit by surprise. Okay, I also see Chameleon, and as much as I like egg, Chameleon's right there with it. The random transforms can be very strong. They're not always consistent plays, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. However, there is a villain to give progress on the stepmother, the Billy Bones is solid as well. We are going to, in fact, take the villain. So it looks like that leads us into completing the quest. And the Katamari, also being an animal, works with the foul lich.
yeah, that worked out really well. Getting the Katamari there to get another animal villain was exactly what I think we were looking for that second pick.
Okay, so looking at the rest of the lobby, we have a Princess Animal played by Freestop, Zach Kinney playing Chucky, Drajin playing, well, Dragon. That seems appropriate. That's Elect Drake. And I didn't quite catch the others there.
All I noticed was the Skip. I'm
Yeah,
always rooting for Skip.
yeah, you are a big fan of Skip, and there is definitely a Skip in the lobby, yeah. Okay, we have a Tink, a Santa Claus daughter of Athena. None of these are jumping off the screen at me. Do you have any opinions here?
I mean, obviously it's Santa Claus. It's always Santa Claus.
Well, How about the spell? I like that option.
I like the spell too. I was joking about the Santa Claus. I actually don't think Santa Claus is a very good pick on turn 4, and I think it's barely a pick on turn 3 most of the time.
Okay, well, Silvery Moon, we don't really have a great target for Silvery Moon. The Baby Bear makes some sense here. We have some animals happening. We are, in fact, though, going to go for the Silvery Moon. Foul Lich is a solid target, not a great target as stated, but maybe that leads us to getting a quicker Uncommon Treasure, which the Uncommon Treasures I personally find to be quite good if you get them early enough. As you get later in the game, it's very hit or miss.
I
I
mean,
don't want. Go ahead.
I certainly can't say too much about how we're playing this so far. It seems like our tempo is working pretty well to maintain our health. So I don't know how we're going to convert this, but I'm pretty happy with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, my comment was going to be right along those same lines. It feels like this has been a very comfortable start. It doesn't look like we have the most imposing board in front of us, but it's winning fights and winning them convincingly. So to still be at 3 hearts here, I think we're very happy with this position. I personally would snap pick Lost in the Woods here, but I'm curious if there's some thought to go elsewhere. We are, in fact, and I wonder if this is because it's a competitive event. We
Hmm.
are going to play the turn 5 Lightning Bolt, which is almost always going to KO something.
Absolutely. I was totally thinking about the Lost in Woods too. We're in such a commanding position, health and tempo wise, that I would want to convert that as soon as possible, and those extra picks help a lot with that. But Lightning Bolt is great if you're just trying to knock people out quickly.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that dealing damage to your opponents is very important in addition to protecting your own health. So, yeah, Lightning Bolt might help us do that. Yeah, I thought Lost in the Woods as well because we've been so easily winning fights. It felt like we were maybe strong enough to make a play for the future. That being said, Chucky can be a very formidable opponent in the earlier stages of the game. And in turn 5, if there are a couple of summons, where we see now there's only a single summoner on the board, but with a Mordecon.
Yeah, actually, that Lightning Bolt turned what probably would have been a loss into a win there, it looked like. Or at least
Yeah,
it would have been a tie instead of a win.
yeah, yeah. The fight RNG could be a bit different without it, but that was close, and we are very happy, as I said, that to deal damage, especially to a Chucky, which is not only a strong early and mid game captain, like I suggested, potentially a very strong late game captain if they
Oh
can
wow, look at
get the
that.
right
Look at
pieces.
that mouse. That mouse is huge
Yeah,
with a double twinkle twinkle queued up.
yeah, it is. 35-17 when the stats on your board consist of a 9-9 and an 8-12. It seems like it wants to find a way onto this board, but the question is, what do you replace first?
Normally, I would just replace the two-headed wizard on this board, but with all the spells they're casting, I think it's reasonable to replace the Katamari as well.
Okay. I feel like the plunder penny has done what it's gonna do. It doesn't seem like it's big enough at this point to have a strong promise of a hunt. And before I can finish that thought, let me say sometimes on this captain especially, losing a fight as you level up can be a good thing. Now, in this case, pumpkin spice latte shows up in the shop, and that's absolutely what we select here.
I do think you're absolutely correct. Plunder Penny is high on my list to be replacing here as well. I was hoping to get one more slay with it there since they're obviously going super deep on spells anyways. Sorry, I said slay. I meant hunt.
Yeah. So now the question is, do we replace the plunder penny? And I wouldn't mind the G-Man out of this shop personally. It does feel like we're in that transition phase, not only by the turn number, but when you look at our board as well, it feels like our board is pretty all over the place, and that tends to happen at this stage of the game.
I'm not sure what I'm picking out of this shop. I'm kind of looking at the ranged character, but it's a bit late for that to be really meaningful with the stats that it has. I don't feel great about Over the Rainbow either, but hopefully it works out, right?
Yeah, I liked Over the Rainbow. I wasn't going to say anything there. I was kind of waiting to see what you thought and what Flash of Blades decided to do. So I would rather have Over the Rainbow as we are going into turn 9 and potentially seeing legendary characters. But this still might work out well. We might see a character that we want to grab with the extra stats Also, it's possible that we just play spells next turn and hold on to over the rainbow going into turn 9. Although we do have a couple of characters that really need to be on their way out. Having said that, though, we are still, at least going into this fight, at 3 hearts, which does open up the possibility to be flexible and kind of make the play that you want to make instead of feeling forced.
Oh, I love that. I was going to say before we even got here, I was like, I hope we get a silver with that over the rainbow because that's exactly what I think we're looking for.
Yep, that ended up being fantastic. That is a great character for us to hit with the over the rainbow. We still have a puck on our board on turn 8. Does it get to stick around all the way into the legendary shops? Yes, it does.
It does. I mean, at some point, you're kind of all in on casting spells and hoping that you get at least to legendary with that. And maybe we'll see a Merlin in the shop and it'll just work out.
Well, it also somewhat makes sense that you don't replace a character as aggressively on turn 8 because you assume next turn on turn 9 that you would just maybe replace it anyway. Like
Exactly.
you can hope
Exactly.
to just pick up a legendary next turn and kind of cut out the extra step there, especially if there's a spell that you want to play. So that's a large range character and also a golden wink. So with Princess Animal, that golden wink can be a real issue if it is able to continue to hunt.
Ooh, what do you like here? Do you like Abracadabra or Over the Rainbow?
I think I might take over the rainbow. I would think about this a little while if I was in this position. Not too long, but abracadabra, a lot of the time I'm looking for the premium spells from it. In this case, what are the premium spells? True Love's Kiss is fantastic. G-Man could be a True Love's Kiss target, maybe, but we don't have a legendary that we could turn into a secret rare character. And as I mentioned earlier, Over the Rainbow into the legendary shops, and we want to replace this puck. I think Over the Rainbow allows us to take kind of any legendary that shows up and immediately slap it on the board. So when we play Abracadabra, Mixo Macho is a great spell, but is it great on turn 9?
Right.
Our characters that we want to keep already have as many stats as we probably expect that they could gain from a Mixo Macho. Like it doesn't seem
Right.
likely that our opponent would be larger. So I'm not sure what we do now that we've taken Abracadabra.
So I'm not going to say that that was the wrong choice, but I certainly personally would have probably cast Mixo on the puck and expected to hold on to it, see if it could turn into a really large character by accident, and then if we get a little bit lucky, we might even transform it into a legendary next turn.
Yeah, that is one great thing about Galaxy. There are many great things, but the transforms, they keep their stats. The stats in this game are considered to be permanent, and if you can use the Mixo on the puck, which I think would have been reasonable, you can then hope to find out through the looking glass to transform it into a legendary that could have
Yeah.
been pretty spicy potentially.
There's our first legendary, right next to a Eureka, which is also an interesting choice.
Yeah, Kraken is a pretty good legendary to pick up on turn 9. The question you always have to ask yourself is, will it be able to hunt if you take it and put it in slot 1? Um, it's hard to know the answer to that. And when you have the Eureka there as well, you can play the Eureka on the two-headed wizard or the foul lich, but probably the two-headed wizard. You can see an additional shop. And I think we're probably happy about that now that we see the Silver
Hmm.
G-Man.
Yeah, we got 2 more silvers off that. That worked out pretty well.
So we don't have a direction right now. That was an interesting shot because there was a Guardian of the Grove and we have 2 animals on our current board. We took the Dreamer, which tells me one of two things. Either we're comfortable not having a direction and we don't necessarily want to commit to one, or maybe we want to consider some scam options going forward. And we have seen a Hercules in this lobby, so maybe the Dreamer
Hmm.
also plays into the fact that we've seen a Herc already. And if
It
we,
also could.
I was going to say, if we want to continue down the scam line, there's a Medusa. I wonder if we're considering that here.
It is certainly an interesting option between the Dreamer and the Medusa moving into kind of a, I'm not going to worry about building big stats. I'm just going to try to trade 1 for 1 and hold out as long as I can, looking for something better and, maybe get a second place, which is still perfectly legitimate.
Yeah, very legitimate when you're in a competitive environment with a point structure. There are players certainly that play the game where they really try to get first place and don't worry as much about other placements. But in this environment, the difference between, third and second place even is significant, just point wise and going forward. So yeah, I don't mind this. This does feel like it's difficult to position. It also feels like it's going to be difficult to get first place, but we'll see. And the Herc now has moved to the back row, and it's going to hunt, but we manage a tie. That's Burgundy on the skip with the Herc.
And that fight was useful information, both knowing that Skip is still playing the Herc and likely will continue to after that hunt, and a little bit of information about how they might prefer to position it. Given that we have both the Dreamer and the Medusa, that's actually really important to be paying attention to.
This is also something I want to keep an eye on throughout our event today. This game is often played asynchronous, where you're playing real player boards, but they're not reacting to you in real time. Where live lobbies, which is what we're playing here, players will react. And I don't know how many of these players have experience playing live lobbies, but it came into play there. Like going into that fight, I thought we would see the Hercules in the front row, but Burgundy, I know does play a lot of live lobbies, is already thinking ahead and not only positioning what works best for their own board, but also, moving things around to make it harder for your opponent to counter what you're doing. There are some elements of that will show up today. We'll see how well these players can adapt.
I will say that I was a little bit surprised that both the scam options are sitting in the front and that it wasn't divided, one in the front, one in the back. That's usually what I do if I have two of those.
Yeah, it's really difficult to expect your slot 2 scam character to attack. And if it gets attacked into, it doesn't really do much of anything. It's just got
As we
small
see here.
stats. Yep. Well, this is going to be a tough lobby. No surprise. These players are putting on a good show here in the first game. We are still at 1.5 hearts, so it's not a dire situation, but we've seen a couple of boards that are very concerning. One being the skip with the big Herc, the Princess Animal that's had the Golden Wink for quite a lot of turns now. That is always a big concern as you get to the later stages of the game. Princess Animal is a very flexible captain, I find.
Yeah, if I had to put my money on what I've seen so far, I would be betting on Skip with the Hercules, but Princess Animal can just come out of nowhere and do ridiculous things, so you can't count that out ever.
Yeah, in a live lobby too. I think with this many players that have already seen the Herc, that these players will have that in mind and look
Yep.
for ways to deal with it. Sometimes it can just be a mixo macho, or something like that. Maybe a stroke of midnight that you are debating whether or not you want to play it. You would certainly want to play it against the Herc board and give yourself a chance to deal with it that way. Or a shrink tea is the same thing. There are ways to deal with the big Herc. It's not easy to do necessarily, and you can't always find what you need. But yeah, with the amount of health remaining on these players, that could mean either A, that the hurt gets really, really large because there are a lot of fights remaining potentially, or B, players have a lot of time to be able to find a way to deal with it. And now this is a third board that we had not discussed, talking about how strong this lobby
Yep.
is. This is a golden mop, and
Yep.
golden mop continues to scale quite well, just as the hurt does.
That was actually quite a giant board from Athena there. And as we saw in the lobby a second ago, Skip was on half a heart and very easily could have just faced Athena's ghost for all we know. So, or
Yeah.
actually, I think it was four people, so that's not true. But Skip could be gone by now. We don't even know yet.
And so, for anybody not familiar, the way this game currently works is if there's an odd number of players, one player will face what we call an evil twin, which is a copy of a current player's board, including any spells that they played this turn. So, it will be changing at some point in the future, but right now that's how it works. So, getting the odd player or the evil twin is not a free pass. It's not a free win like facing a ghost of somebody that's already been knocked out. So, that also can, um, you know, factor into the way that you want to play because you don't have that extra turn to be able to greed.
And it looks like Skip healed last turn, so I think we're in it for a world of hurt here, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I would recommend being ready to switch.
yeah, that's a good call. Also, where do we expect to see the Herc? Could be in the front row, could be in the back row. We already saw Burgundy move it around in different fights. And so when we're trying to position a Medusa and maybe a Dreamer, it's hard to know where to put them to give ourselves the highest percent chance to deal with the Herc. And of course, if we make it through this fight, well, we still have to worry about White Falcon and Freestyle. So fourth place is going to receive no points here. So whoever is able to make it into third place will at least receive something for their efforts here in the first game.
I think the only thing I'm doing here is I'm putting either the Dreamer or Medusa in slot 4 and the other one in slot 1. That would be the main thing I would change here.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We do see Herc all the way back in slot 5.
Yeah,
So
I think we're losing this fight pretty much no matter what. I don't know if we're losing it by enough characters to lose the whole heart, though.
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and back out. So we don't have any issues with the spectate client. That was Burgundy, I believe, wasn't it? On the skip, it was. Since that's who knocked us out. What did we get knocked out? Did we take half heart
We did
damage?
not. We took half a heart damage, but
Okay. Well, my apologies. I wouldn't have switched off so quick. I probably could have seen that, but I have switched over to Burgundy right now. Which now we get to see the positioning shuffle as we see it get switched right now before anything has even been selected from the shop.
ooh,
Uh,
wow, that's a shot.
Yeah, but you have the hurt, so you kind of want the Blackbeard. But two things, it's pretty small, even in front of the Golden Oberon. It's probably just not better than the Wicked Witch, in my personal opinion. Also, do you need more stats on the Hercules? I feel like right now we're at a place where, based on the other boards that we've seen, the Hercules feels like it's kind of big enough, and making it even bigger while fun is not necessarily better all the time because once it gets big enough, it's either only going to be scammed or your opponent maybe is going to use a Mixo to also use those stats against you. So
Yep,
I
yep.
think you could consider the Blackbeard, but I don't know that I would take it here.
No, I don't know that it would either. I'm actually also thinking about the Captain Hook just as a maybe not necessarily put it on my board, but that's the kind of thing that they can swing a battle very quickly if it's the right size. So,
Yeah, and
and
so we got rid of the Golden Oberon, which I think is a pretty good choice. The only downside that I really see here is that was a good TOK target because it was golden. So if you could
mhm.
truly have kissed that into a golden secret rare, that would be incredible. But I do like the Captain Hook. And I think it's worth mentioning here, we see the Wicked Witch in slot 1. That's a collectible card that you have to add to your deck list. And I think it's one that you could potentially add to any deck list if you so choose. It's very strong, and if you end up in a spot where you're against a board like our own that has a big Hercules, it can
Mhm.
give you a greater chance to be able to deal with that as well.
Oh, nice shot from the Wicked Witch there. Yeah, the other thing I like about Captain Hook, and this is, obviously minor, but anything that summons a character gives you a higher chance of knocking a player out from a full heart rather than a half a heart because that extra third character that it might summon from it.
Yep, absolutely. And we see the Hercules get a bonus attack here because our opponent ended with their final character being ranged. So it didn't take damage when it attacked. So we got an extra Herc attack in. So now we're in the 10Ks. We're in the 5 digits. That's pretty massive. We opt not to Midas touch the Herc, but rather the goodie bag. The goodie bag is incredibly strong.
Absolutely.
And that's a good example of how strong Goodie Bag really is if you're opting not to Golden the Herc. But again, as I mentioned, do we really need more stats on the Hercules?
Yeah. I think goldening the goodie bag instead of the Herc is absolutely correct here. The Herc being golden doesn't really change the math. The only way someone's beating the Herc is either by going uh, over the top in some ridiculous way or scam, and neither of those is going to be affected by Herc growing a little bit faster right now.
And I want to give a reminder to the players when you get knocked out, if you could please share the placement that you got in the
Mhm.
Discord channel that we're using, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, we are down to the top three, so everybody still in is getting some number of points, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Top three all get points. Fourth, fifth, and sixth in this point structure get no points at all. So we are on one heart. Both of the other remaining players, Freestyle and White Falcon, each have 2 hearts. So we're going to have to go through a few fights to be able to deal the amount of damage to win this one. Can we do it as we continue to shuffle the Herc around
Ooh,
and
interesting.
And this is the point also where how closely has Burgundy been paying attention to our opponent's boards, not only the characters, but also the positioning. It is very easy to remember parts of an opponent's board. It's sometimes difficult to remember exactly what they had and then try to factor in also what changes are they likely to make or how would they reposition if they knew they were facing me the next time. And so there can be some mind games here.
I do really love the whole, will they move something here, and then if I move something there, will they know I'm moving something there, and then will I move
Yeah.
something back? It's a really fun game that I'm actually looking forward to a future world where we allow you to see who you're facing before you start making your picks for the turn, because I think it will really increase those head games a lot.
Yeah, I think I would personally enjoy that. I would like to see
Um,
that added at some point. We did see a Mixo Macho on the Herc stats. It was a Laser Shark gaining the original Hercules stats, which was in the 10K range. So now that opponent has a 10K Laser Shark. We're still able to win that fight. Deal half heart damage to him, but they did find the right slot to use that Mixo.
yeah, that's and honestly, that's more likely to knock out the other player than it is to come back and haunt Skip, because Skip got the hunt and doubled her size. So now all of a sudden that 10K isn't nearly. Oh wow, that was not what I was expecting.
No, this is a great play. I like this a lot.
Mhm.
For anybody that doesn't know, I talked about this earlier, but buffs are permanent in this game. So the Hercules ability buff has gained stats, right? Just on the ability itself. So if we were to transform into a character like, let's say, a Merlin that gives a certain amount of stats per spell played, that numbered ability will transfer over as you transfer the character. So we talked about we didn't really need more stats on the Hercules, and I still don't think we need more stats necessarily. If we could have transformed this into, a Guardian of the Grove, a Merlin, a Titania, anything with numbers on it, this would be massive.
Yep.
As is, it's still a fine character to have. If we see another through the looking glass, I would expect that we would try that one more time.
Yep. I should be clear, when I said I didn't expect it, just I hadn't evaluated the shop yet. I think it's a great play.
Yep, I agree. I think that was a very great play, one that maybe not everybody would notice. But yeah, for anybody that did not know, ability buffs transfer over. It works for characters like Snowball, like Mighty Mouse, like Hercules. Any character that can increase its own ability buff. That will work also for a character like Mimic. If you give Mimic ranged, for instance, and transform it, it will keep the range. The new character, whatever it turns into, will have that ranged ability. So a lot of fun things that you can do through transforms. And we did see that opponent had a Medusa, was not able to use the Medusa to attack into the Bahamut here in the back row. What do we TLK? I think we TLK. What do we TLK?
I think it's the Bahamut, because the Bahamut isn't making use of that bonus. It's just big.
It's true. It's secret rare. I'm pretty sure there are only three characters that have numbered abilities. Those would be Zeus, Nanny McFay, which would be incredible with the amount of buffs we would be giving out, especially behind a goodie bag. And then the third one is Shadow. I believe those
Yep.
are the only three. So not super likely you would hit one of those, but it might be worth a shot. There aren't a lot of secret rare characters, and if you could hit any one of those, you'd be quite happy with it, I think.
Yep. And I think the other secret rares are both still interesting, and it doesn't change the fact that you can still later hit it with through the looking glass. You can change a secret rare back down to a legendary with through the looking glass
That's
and
a
try
great
again.
point. Yeah, because we would potentially do that if it doesn't hit one of the characters that we want here. Although, maybe we just TOK again. Okay, Echoing Fae. Now, we've transformed out of the Ravenous Fae, I believe that was. So we can't see
Mhm.
that one again. So if we do transform yet again into another secret rare, we have one less option that it could turn into. So we're increasing our odds of hitting what we really want, I guess.
Yeah. It is a little unfortunate in this particular case that we didn't hit Hook. I think Echoing Fae with Hook would have been, instead of Hook, would have been a net improvement to the board, but this works.
Yeah, that Echoing Fae is already so large. It can gain some stats here from the goodie bag, for instance. But yeah, the stats that it's going to gain, I'm not sure if they're going to be super relevant.
This looks like a board that's just basically Echoing Fae versus Laser Shark now.
Yeah, it looks exactly like that. I mean, that's more or less what it is here, right? Now, what kind of summons do we get? Actually, the summons are sort of bad here for free stop, right? Because the the laser shark didn't get to attack again because of the summons.
Right, right. If
So
anything, you want the summons in the front.
yeah, yeah, I think some repositioning or maybe looking to get rid of summons. Summons are great in this game, and you talked about how it can help you deal full heart damage. Here we're on turn 18 already. Not that uncommon for live lobbies. They do tend to go longer in turn number, and these are obviously very experienced players. But yeah, I wonder if there's a decision to be made there around not wanting the summon.
Yeah. Or maybe Laser Shark is supposed to be in the back. This kind of boils down to the whole, will they, won't they positioning puzzle, right? Because if you put
Hmm.
Laser Shark in the back, then you could move Echoing Fae to the front to counter that, and now it's again more likely that the Echoing Fae wins that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we have Sword of Shadow and Light, KO Star, and Shield of Achilles. None of these really seem great, to be honest. Yeah. Sword of Shadow and Light, you do have a villain in slot one. It's probably not going to hunt, but we'll see. Well, we previously summoned a puck from the goodie bag, and that's why it has so many stats in the shop. It's a lot of stats, but it's still not going to find its way onto our board.
Yeah, it's an interesting question of whether it's better than, for example, the Wicked Witch, which, right now is probably just trading one for one in general based on what's going on with these boards.
There's also an interesting decision for our own board as far as positioning. Do we ever want to put the Echoing Fae in the front row so it can potentially help us deal full heart damage? Because our biggest character in the front row, tanking a lot of our opponent's entire board, could absolutely help. Also, Mixo Macho is often played in slot one if your opponent sees that, because that is a likely spot for your biggest character to be. Um, yeah, we could move the Wicked Witch to slot four, the Echoing Fae to the front. Like, there are just decisions all around. We'll see which ones Burgundy chooses to make as the puck shows up again in the shop. And maybe that's what we're looking at. It is a lot of stats. Yeah, right on cue. Burgundy does, at least for now, we haven't started the battle yet, does put the Echoing Fae in the front row. And depending on what your opponent's board looks like, this definitely could be the difference in full heart damage. And if we can deal full heart damage, well, then White Falcon would be out of this lobby. Of course, the flip side of that is if we take full heart damage, then we'll be out of the lobby. So this feels like an important fight. Freestop is going to face one of these players' current boards, the evil twin version of that. So they don't have a freebie, but this fight right here is important. We see the Medusa go to slot 5. There's some mind game there as well. So Burgundy previously had the biggest character in the back. We know White Falcon saw that and had positioned the Medusa in the back. So this allows the Echoing Fae to trade well, but it also means the Medusa, if it gets to attack, should have a clear shot straight at the Echoing Fae. So this
Yeah.
this is interesting positioning by both players.
And here, and we were saying, oh wow, here comes the
Yeah,
Medusa. Yeah, that was close. That
yeah.
was really close.
Really close. I think interesting positioning and good positioning by both players. I kind of want them to fight again to see how they both adjust. Sometimes not doing anything is the five head play because your opponent might expect you to make a change. So sometimes doing nothing, sometimes making unexpected, like huge adjustment. So
Yep.
we'll see. This is a fun top three that we're in going into turn 19.
And for those who didn't notice, we just picked up a free random wonder box off of, I believe, one of those other treasures
Team
that we
Matt's
have.
Claw. I had
So
to have been Team Matt's
yeah,
Claw. Yeah.
so that's a great thing to have if you're expecting it. Not always the best thing to have if you don't want it. In terms of
Yeah,
things like True Love's Kiss, like we've just turned off True Love's Kiss. We can no longer True Love's Kiss that mop into something easily and risk screwing up our whole board.
I expect the players in this lobby will be really paying attention since it's a competitive format. However, I will tell on myself here and say that when I get a treasure from a random source where I'm not selecting it myself, sometimes I don't see it. Usually I do, but more frequently I forget. I just like I see a TOK. I think, okay, I'm going to target the Echoing Fae or whatever it is, and next thing you know, all of my characters are transforming. I've done that more times than I'd like to admit, and I
And
don't know that Burgundy will, but we'll have to keep an eye out.
it's interesting to note if you're looking at the screen right now, you can see how the spell, the sugar spell, does have a little bit of a highlight around it that's glowing, as does the Wonder Box, and that's intentional. That's a hint to remind you that this spell is interacting with something on your board. It is a little bit hard to see on the spells, so it's easy to miss, but that will probably get a little bit stronger in the future so that people make those mistakes just a little bit less often.
It does help, and I want to take this opportunity to highlight also the text that shows up just below the characters, above their gem, but below the character name, showing character types if it's relevant to you or potentially relevant. I think that's an incredibly good feature that this game utilizes, and it's helpful for me, and I'm sure it's really helpful for newer players.
Did you catch if this was a ghost or the main player that we're fighting?
It should be the main player because we see their name at the top left.
Ah, okay.
I believe we would see the captain name if it wasn't.
I believe you're correct because I'm watching the other player and it said Princess Animal at the top. So that's a good catch. I didn't know that trick.
Yep. Well, you know, I play a lot of live lobbies, so pick up on things even when
I
you're not looking for them.
I just think it's fascinating that you're teaching me things about my own game.
Yeah. We all play a role in the team.
It's great. It's great. You are a great contributor and an amazing member. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. It really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate it. Okay, we have a Golden Wicked Witch, which gives us some treasure options. Daisy Jones Locket, Fairy Queen's Wand, Viking Longhouse. We're going to take the Daisy Jones Locket. No surprise there. Or we're going to get value out of it. Hard to say. So a Silver Kraken gives us another shop. Could lead to a spell that we want more than Mixo. But Mixo on the goodie bag, or on the mop. Yeah, the mop might actually just be better. Well, never mind. Wait, we have Wonder Box. See, there I go.
Yeah,
I,
no,
I,
no. It's. I
I forgot.
was gonna say. I think it's Mixo pretty much all the time because of Wonderbox. If it wasn't
100%.
because of Wonderbox, yeah.
100% with the Wonder Box, you definitely play it. But here, listen, I spoke it into existence as I often do. Even highlighting it, and it wasn't that long ago that I was talking about the Wonder Box. But yeah, we mix our entire board. I love that. I think that's an incredibly strong play. And we're down to the top three, one heart for each player. That doesn't mean that we don't have several fights left, but we're getting down to the nitty gritty on turn 20.
And I think a large portion of what's going to come down to for Skip here specifically is just can they dodge Mixos on their Echoing Fae long enough to win the game?
Right. Well, that's a large mop.
And I was going to say, and speaking of a very, you might want to be ready to switch away from this player.
Yeah. So, Burgundy may have needed to swap the positioning of the Echoing Fae. Of course, you didn't know that, but it does feel like that's gonna really
Yeah.
be an issue. Is
And
this gonna be? I think this is full heart damage. I'm not
yeah,
gonna risk it. I'm gonna switch off. We're gonna switch over to White Falcon. Um, okay, Burgundy got third place. Thank you,
great, great.
Burgundy.
I hope I didn't speak that into existence because that would be a rude thing for me to do.
Well, this is just what I was talking about in live lobbies. Positioning is so important, more so than playing asynchronous. So, how do
Oh,
these
wow.
players adapt? Are they even thinking about that? And so
That
now
was
we,
that was a key stroke right there. That was really nice.
yeah, also really nice, this back row Medusa that had a chance to hit the laser shark. It does not, however, it misses the laser shark, which means we are
I think
going to
we're
get
done.
knocked out, and Freestab is going to win this one. So White Falcon in second place and Freestab in first place.
Very nice, very nice. Congratulations.
I'm just making some notes on points here. So that game took a lot of time. It's possible we only get one more game in. We have 23 and a half minutes to go. So you don't have to wait on us to start the next lobby. Players, you can go ahead and get the next lobby formed. Just post the lobby code in the Discord channel that we're using. And just remember, once you get to turn one, then just wait on us at that point. Okay. I'm gonna, nope, that's not what I want. Okay.
Oh, did you? Okay, hopefully it works out.
Yeah, should be good. Now we're just waiting on the players to organize the lobby. We see the lobby code is available, so it shouldn't take them too long. If this game somehow goes quick, we will start a third game. If we get it started, we'll finish it. But it looks like we might just end up with two games. in 1 hour. That game went really long, Alexis.
It's not really a big surprise to me, honestly. These live lobbies often get into a very long end game where people are carefully thinking about positioning, and play and counterplay can often lead to just half heart losses than a heal. It can take a while to get past the 3 to 4 player mark.
Yeah, I think it adds an extra element of fun, personally. But when you're in a top three scenario is when it really shows up because once you go to top two, it's only full heart damage. So somebody's going to be losing a significant amount of health. But in top three, it can still be cracked heart damage, which you can then potentially heal back up. So sometimes you can negate the damage that you take, especially if it's kind of a rock paper scissors format where you're weaker than one player and losing to them, but stronger than another player, or maybe it's just a better matchup for you. So there is some interesting things in the live lobbies that don't really exist in the asynchronous experience.
Yeah. I'm actually really curious to see how that ends up changing, for the better or for worse. I honestly don't know. Once we change how ghosts work so that they're actually ghosts of dead players,
Yeah.
specifically in a top three situation where, like you said, you can lose half a heart to a close fight and then gain that half heart back in the next fight, which ghosts will probably make a lot easier to do on
Um,
average.
okay, just a reminder, players, I don't know if you're all in the lobby yet. Hopefully you are. If you're not, the lobby code has been posted. Go ahead and get in there, start, select your captain, and then let us know in case you haven't done that. You've already picked. So are you on turn one? In turn one. Okay, perfect. So we can join now.
Great.
Thank you very much.
All right. Who would we like to spectate that time? Do we want to watch
Well,
the winner?
Freestop won the lobby, and it put
All right.
me on Freestop straight out of the gate. In addition,
Great.
Freestop has chosen Melody, which when I first played this game was my very favorite captain. I really like the design of it. I don't consider it to be one of the strongest, but we'll see how Freestop can navigate this, especially when you know you're in a lead and have 5 points as far as the point structure goes. And for anybody that doesn't know what Melody does, every 6 cards you pick, your buffs from spells give an additional +1/+1. We start out immediately with a bronze and then a silver Aladdin, which is an extra character selected, an extra card picked. So that helps on our captain ability. We also have a wand, a captain that we potentially want to play some spells throughout, and the evil stepmother, who, if we can complete that quest, I'm sure we would love to get breadcrumbs out of it.
Did did we
Wait.
lose a player here?
Yeah, what is happening there with no characters on board? Did they wait, I didn't see. Did they have a treasure selected?
I didn't see a treasure either. That that concerns me. That might be somebody who failed to connect.
Their name is still showing.
Huh. Very interesting.
Usually if they get disconnected, it would update and huh. I don't know what to make of that. But
I don't
prior to
either. I've
that,
never seen it before.
yeah. I was just commenting about how strong our turn one was. Um, but apparently Drajan also had a very strong early game. It's bugged. Okay, so if it is in fact bugged and we've confirmed that, we need to make an executive decision here. Alexis, do we restart the lobby or I think in this case, I think we probably need to.
Okay. Yeah. I think. I mean, I would like to at least hear from Flash of Blades what's going on. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're just completely disconnected, I don't want to wait around for them. They did mention
Okay.
they had bad internet.
They just commented, I think my game glitched. Okay.
Okay.
We
Okay.
will in fact restart the lobby. So apologies to everybody that had a good start. Freestop, Drajan, apologies. But yeah, yep, yes, we will restart. Actually, I think, do I have to wait for the person spectating me to quit before I
No,
can?
no, you can concede and then hit disconnect.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I didn't know that. Okay. Thank you, players, for your understanding. Same thing. If Freestop, if you want to host another lobby, share the code. We want this to be as fair as can be, and so we certainly don't want to play a game out where a player got disconnected. I have been in situations personally where I was playing in tournaments where there was a restart, and I've had it work both ways for me as far as hey, I had a great captain and a great start. I don't really want to, understanding the scenario and being okay with it, but not really being thrilled. But I've also had it the other way where I didn't really want this captain. I didn't really like my turn one. Thank goodness we get to restart. You know, you want to high five somebody. So I don't know how this will be for each individual player, but when we get in the lobby, we're going to spectate Free Stop again, who is in first place with 5 points. Thank you, players, for
But
helping communicate here in the Discord as well.
and honestly, it's hard to say. Like Freestyle definitely had a very nice start there, but it wasn't an overwhelmingly obviously, crush the lobby type of start.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel from Freestop's perspective because it was a pretty good start, and a pretty good start if you won the first round and you think this is going to be only one more game, might set you up well for top three, which might be enough to secure the
Hmm.
the entire thing. So at the same time, it wasn't the best start ever, so maybe you can do better.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get everyone on turn one, and let's wait for Flash of Blades to confirm that they also are able to pick something on turn one before we hit
Okay,
battle and things like that. Because there's always a
so
chance to rejoin on the first turn as long as you wait for people.
okay. So waiting on blades. Thank you, Zach, for helping communicate. Really appreciate the assistance. So yeah, as soon as we get Flash of Blades in there, we'll get this lobby started back up. Hopefully no more issues this time. It really is so much fun watching other people play this game. Don't you think, Alexis?
I think so. I think we should get to a point where we can do this more regularly.
I like that idea. It's really my favorite way to experience the game is by watching somebody else because you have to not only think about what would you do, but you have to think about what they did and why did they do it and is that better or how does that change your thinking?
Got
There's
got,
a
clo- got clones again. I love it. I love it. I
That's
love the
appropriate.
dedication.
All right, so let us know when you're on turn one. If you're on turn one, then we'll hop in. So we know at least one of the captains.
Like honestly, I could see getting to a point where one of your days a week we do something that involves spectating a bit more. Doesn't mean you can't necessarily play in the lobby, but we're not that far away from making it so you can spectate your own lobby as well.
Yeah, no, I would definitely be interested in that. I really enjoy doing this. Yeah, I mean, especially when I have somebody like you join me,
Okay,
makes it even better.
I have a question mark. It looks like we got a bot this time.
No,
It
come
looks like
on.
it looks like it looks like I'm not seeing Flash of Blades. I'm seeing a bot, even though he says he got clones again. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
All right, let me see what I see here. I also have a question mark.
Yeah, we may.
Do we have to try one more time?
I mean, I think so. A bot is obviously better than a blank.
Yeah,
And if I'm being completely honest, if we're going to keep having these issues, I'm not sure we have the time to try 3 or 4 times.
well,
So,
since it looks like this is going to be our only other game anyway, I think we could potentially. I mean, I'm leaving it as an open question still. All right,
yeah.
Flash of Blades is going to say no, thank you. Apologies. I don't know why that's not working for you. Flash of Blades, apologies to you and to the other players in the lobby. It's not ideal playing with a bot, but we can move forward with it. Playing with 5 live players and 1 bot is not a huge swing to the way the lobby plays out. It will matter, but it's not too big of a deal. I think we're okay going forward with it. But GG's Flash of Blades. Thanks for participating. You will
Mhm.
still get your 500 gems for playing today. So congrats on being selected, and yeah, good luck on any future events that you find yourself in. Hopefully, you don't have that issue going forward.
I've uh, I've just taken a note to work on the reconnection experience specifically around the captain select in turn one. We know that's an issue. Just need to work on it.
Yep, yep. So there are things that could still be improved, but pretty happy. The Spectate client is working well for us here, and just being able to have an event. It's still early days for any kind of structured events, but I'm happy to be able to host them. And as you mentioned, maybe we can start doing these a little more regularly, or maybe variations. Not this exactly, but some things where we're hosting games and I can cast the games maybe with somebody helping me sometimes. Okay, well, back to the game. So here we have Freestab, who is winning against Princess Animal, which is the captain that Freestab took all the way to the finish line last game. So knocking them down to 2 hearts. We grab a Pan
Absolutely.
Shadow. Go ahead.
I was going to say, absolutely the captain you want to be doing early heart damage to if possible.
Yes. This is also a captain that we're playing as Freestab, the Collector. It's one that I've had many, many conversations about this captain. And I had a similar experience to what I think other people are having. When I read the captain ability, it doesn't sound super exciting. When you collect a treasure, give your characters +1/+1, an additional +1/+1 for each missing heart. On paper, it seems like, okay, sometimes if I get a treasure, I'll get a little bit of stats that might not matter. That's the way I read it. But when I play it, it feels quite strong to me. Not one of the very top captains, but it feels like a strong enough captain that I enjoy playing it. I think it's fun. I think it's good enough, even in this tournament situation. If we just get a couple of treasures, the small amount of stats in the early game can be good. It's also a captain that has a fun interaction where if you're losing, your captain ability gets stronger because it increases if you're missing a heart. So I really like this captain personally.
This is exciting. We've got the drafty window going.
We
We don't really
do.
have, that's one of those almost always a speculative treasure when you take it on when you take it during the turns where you normally get common treasures. Essentially, it's almost always speculative. So
Yeah.
really don't know how it's going to play out.
I think it's a premium pick. Like it's one of my top options from common if I'm in the early stages of the game because it can be a full build around. You get
Absolutely.
that one treasure and all of a sudden that opens up a game plan that's a lot easier to pull off than it would have been otherwise. Speaking of speculative, we grabbed a chameleon. We did not try to hunt with it because it was the turn right before we level up, and then we can put it in slot one now with some of these slot buffs. And yeah, I would love to see a chameleon hunt, and Mechanical Dragon is great, especially on the collector.
I'm super excited by the dragon. I can't wait to golden that and get a mushroom ring so that that pan shadow goes nuts with the drafty window too.
So we have lost a player. That is not the bot that has been knocked out of this lobby. The bot is actually still in. So we have lost
Wow.
Zach. GG to
Wow.
Zach. Well,
That does. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's not. It's more than a 0% chance that we'll have time for one more game. I don't think it's likely, however.
It is one of the things that can happen in these live lobbies, though. You can get knocked out really fast if you just get out tempoed, and you can. I've seen these things end with everybody dead by legendary turns.
Yeah, the way the heart system works, if your opponent has three or more characters remaining at the end of the fight, you take full heart damage, and that can be significant if your opponent is really strong, especially if they have summons. And there are certain captains that are really strong early game, maybe not as good if you make it to the late game. But as I talk about summons and early game heart damage, there is a Geppetto in the lobby, and well, I mean Geppetto does tend to have a good opportunity to deal massive amounts of damage, especially if they find a Mordecon early, along with the other summons.
This is
Also,
great. I'm
yeah, go ahead.
the dragon combo here with the mechanical dragon and the maverick and Icewing is going to pay off very quickly too. And then we have the potion bottle, so we're going to get an epic treasure off of that. So this is really, really, really shaping up to be a very powerful board very early.
Yeah, it is a little weird to have the Maverick and Icewing in the front because you really want the Mechanical Dragon to get KO'd before it, and it does not here. But you have supports in the back, so it's not like there's an easy
Yep.
way to get it to the back row, but it is a little awkward, and we sort of have the issue with it here. But yeah, there's a Golden Maverick and Icewing. Also a Pumpkin Spice Latte, but yeah, I like this choice.
Oh, there's that mushroom ring. Do you take the mushroom ring?
Well, Widow's Web with the Fairy Dragon
Oh, rad. Yeah, wow.
is quite
I was
incredible. When you're generating treasures every turn from the Mechanical Dragon, it's pretty incredible.
100%. And it gives us a chance to do what I probably would have done anyways, which is swap Tink and Maverick and Icewing on this board.
Yeah. We're
Oh,
actually going to take
interesting.
a chemistry set and it's going to pay off immediately.
Wow.
Okay. Viking Longhouse. So we're going to try to get some hunts in.
And then we trigger the Maverick naturally, so the mechanical dragon's not even important anymore. In that way, sorry, just to be clear.
and we get a parting gift with the mechanical dragon. So it's gonna, assuming it gets KO'd, it's gonna generate 2 treasures every turn. As a bronze, if we can get a golden, that'll be up to 4. And we're going against the Geppetto, who it looks like had a good start based on the amount of damage we've seen other players take and the fact that they're still at full health. Sure enough, there is the Mordecon, no big shock there. I happen to have the information that Geppetto is Drajan's favorite captain, by the way. So no big shocker there. I think Geppetto is a very strong captain, but Drajan should be in their comfort zone playing that captain if it's their favorite.
What are you thinking about here? Through
Well,
the
there's
Looking Glass, Scarecrow.
the
There's a couple
Scarecrow with
options.
the potion could lead to a legendary treasure, but like how many turns does it take? Honestly, the alchemistry set makes it harder to complete the Scarecrow because you're not finding the silvers, meaning you're not getting the bonus shops unless, you get lost in the woods meeting a tavern and that kind of things. So if it was turn 7, I think I'd still try the Scarecrow. On turn 8, I think it's difficult to do. It looks like Freestyle agrees and is going to recruit it, but not actually put it on the board here.
It is interesting that you talk about Alchemistry Set. It's one of those cards with a subtle but very, very real drawback that's easy to miss, which is not getting silvers in your shop means you don't get to cycle through things as quickly and you don't get as many bonus shops to see more options.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a give and take, and when you pick it, you don't always know, and sometimes you want it now, but later it ends up, preventing you from um, recruiting a silver that gives you the extra shop that you needed to find the spell, or whatever the scenario is. There's just a lot going on with the treasure like that, with pros and cons. So we have reached the legendary shops. We picked up Bahamut here, which is pretty decent amount of stats just straight onto the board. Okay. I like it. What do you think about the Conan, Alexis?
I like the Conan, especially with things like Mechanical Dragon and being Collector and stuff. You know it's going to get just naturally buffed over and over during the next few turns, so you're going to get there eventually.
Yep.
Um, I don't know if I would have cut the Fairy Dragon instead of the G-Man. That's kind of a, or even the Scar, honestly, probably keeping the Scar, but it's
Yeah,
probably not going to matter. All those cards are going to get cut in the next few turns anyways.
yeah, I think there's merit to playing that either way. Yeah, I really like the Conan though. It probably takes a few turns to actually get there and proc the quest, but with the Potion of Treasure finding, that represents a secret rare treasure potentially. And when we're at 3 full hearts, I think we can take the bit of tempo loss to slap the Conan on our board, and doesn't mean we'll be able to keep it all the way to quest completion, but that's the plan for now.
Yep. And it's important to note the treasure of potion finding because the difference between getting a legendary treasure on turn 13 or so and getting a secret rare treasure on 13th turn is huge because the legendary treasures aren't actually that great for the most part on turn 13 or 14.
Okay, well, this is a look at our current lobby. We have Freestopper spectating at 2.5 hearts, Burgundy down to 1 heart. So any fight could be Burgundy's last fight at this point. We recently saw Drajan's Geppetto board. They're still quite healthy, so probably have quite a few turns left as a lobby. The question is, does Burgundy have quite a few turns left? It looks like
Looks
Burgundy
like
will
no.
take damage, but able to survive.
Yeah, the real question being is Burgundy going to face anybody they can heal against? Do they find a heal in the shop? It did look like a board that was kind of holding on by its fingernails, essentially.
Also worth mentioning here, we did not get
Oh,
any
wow.
progress on the Conan that fight. So it being in the back row means it didn't ever attack or get attacked. That sets us back a turn. That feels quite bad. But what doesn't feel quite bad was your oh wow, if you want to elaborate.
I said, oh wow, because Wormscale Tinker is exactly what we're looking for with the stack of 10 Dragon Claws that's going to keep getting bigger every turn.
Yeah.
Every one of those Dragon Claws is going to get bigger and bigger every turn as well. So we've now gone geometric.
Yeah. Our numbers are going to get bigger pretty quick. And that, by itself could help the Conan proc a little bit quicker. We kind of lost a turn there with Conan progress, but I think we're going to maybe gain that back. And we are still at 3 hearts. We had lost some health, but we gained it back by winning a fight. If you win a fight on a cracked heart, you
It's
you heal that back up. So
it's also worth remembering that Wormscale Tinker is now a Fey, and we did draft several Fey buffs early on, so it's now +3/+6 every turn, not just
Yep.
+1/+1.
Yep, yep, worth mentioning. Good call. Yeah, we have drafty window, so we were doing things with Fae, and it looked like this was not going to turn into a Fae board in the end of the game. But I don't know if you call this a Fae board, but we're taking advantage of all of those the buffs, the pan and the pan shadow that we took earlier, and this is gonna pay off in droves here. So we didn't quite complete the Conan, but we're going to get there pretty easily and pretty comfortably this turn. A number of treasures that could be good for us at the secret rarity. So we'll see what we're offered and what we choose. We have gone now into the top three. Looks like Burgundy, I believe it was Burgundy. Was it that just got knocked out in fourth? Yeah, it was.
And it's worth noting that Freestop
What?
knows.
What? I'm
Whoa,
sorry to
what
cut
the?
you off.
Wow.
But we randomly summoned a mop in the 1K sword slot right before our Barrel of Monkeys proc, which means we only had board space for 3 monkeys, but it does mean the next time those monkeys summon, those 3 of the 5 that can potentially show up will have those extra or have that extra 1,000 attack. That's absurd.
That is so absurd. Especially that's just the kind of chaos that I really love about this game. Is sometimes just things happen in an order that just blows your mind away in terms of how did that even happen? But they happen so often. It's just each individual one doesn't happen that often. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, that fight feels like it was super relevant, not only for the individual fight itself, but also going forward. And the way that can happen, I agree, adds some extra tension that I really enjoy about this game. So we picked up Trifork and we picked up a few common treasures here. Really, even like something like Wand of Anger now. Every spell you cast is giving your characters +10, +18, thanks to the worm scale buffs to our spells. And now we have a Wonder Box, a 1K sword, and a World Shrub. So it gets to the point where it can be hard to keep track of every individual thing going on. We'll just try to pay attention to the important parts like the Wonder Box and the 1K sword, you know. But we got a lot going on. How about the Eureka with the Wonder Box with the World Shrub?
Uh
That's a
huh.
lot of extra shops.
I was even just going to say Excalibur with the World Chub and the Tinker is already a nice
Yeah.
big boost to the board, and then let's just cast Eureka and get a bunch of shops. Yeah, I think the answer to how do we deal with a barrel full of 1,100 monkeys is let's just go over the top and make our toughness higher than 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one way to do it. We're getting there. We're really making progress towards that. And with the wand, that every time we cast a spell is giving, I believe it was +10, +18. And we actually just passed up. That's my timer, by the way. So this will be the last game. We almost got this one in without the restart. It's possible we could have got one more. This will be the last game. So here we go. Chip on the ship is very good for that build. And all right, the Barrel of Monkeys are back.
All right, let's see how big those monkeys are. All 5 showing up. Look at that.
Also worth noting, Drajen has gone up to 4 hearts thanks to a Lich King's heart. So we would not only have to win 3 times, but now we would have to win 4 times against them. Is it possible? I think it is possible, but can we do it? It's hard to say. We,
This is this is absolutely anybody's fight right now from what I'm seeing on the boards. To be fair.
yeah, yeah, they have a really good setup, and we're still working to counter it, but the redundancy of the summons with the 1K sword, when you add on top of that the monkeys that are some of them summoning with 1,000 attack, our stats aren't there yet. If we lose this one and go down to 1 heart, then we have to pull it together last second.
And of course we're in the top 2, so we don't take half a heart damage. We're taking a full heart damage no matter what if we lose here.
It is worth noting, however, I don't want to make this anticlimactic, of course, but it does mean since Freestyle won the first game and these games ran a bit long with the restart as well, since this is going to be the last game, it does mean Freestyle is going to end up being the winner. Of course, you want to be the overall winner by winning the final game. So let's see if Freestyle can do exactly that.
We're seeing the same RNG as last time here, where the monkeys almost died last, not quite.
Yeah, but have we made it over the hump here,
It
if
does
you
look like
will?
it. This looks like a win.
Yeah. So one win knocks them back down to their starting health, which is 3. Look at this shot. All right. Thanks to Trifork, we get to take all three of these: Sword of Shadow and Light, Bunyan's Axe, Shield of Athena. Happy to have them. Well, do we
Yep,
want more treasures? There's also an Abracadabra. TOK could be a really interesting option if we were able to find it. Hand of
totally.
Midas.
I do like aiming at treasures here, just because we have the Tinkerer and all the other things going on. Every treasure with all the treasure hoard and everything is so much buff just by itself.
You also have to think with the Wonder Box. Do we want a TOK? I mean, we would end up with three secret rares, two of them golden, but then we would end up with kind of a random epic and a random legendary. Like those two specifically might not be premium. And the Mechanical Dragon, since we've had this Tinker so many turns, is still giving a lot of value. So I don't know. Like
Absolutely.
I would be tempted if I saw TOK, but maybe we don't want to go too far out of our way for it. If we're happy with our board and we think we're winning as is, why take a chance?
As a random note, I was just looking at Chip on the Ship, who is now golden, which I don't believe actually changes anything about how it works. It's an interesting puzzle of a design puzzle of how do we try to make every single golden card in the game have an extra bonus. And I don't think we've solved that for Chip, and I'm not even sure it's solvable, but it's an interesting puzzle.
Yeah, it is. That's a tricky one. Speaking of kind of tricky, the goodie bag summoned in slot one, which then summoned a ranged character. It didn't get to attack, but it made that fight feel closer than the one fight prior to that.
Yeah, I was definitely watching that. And I was hoping that it might actually tie the fight, just so that we could keep watching this nonsense.
Yeah, well, we have at least two more fights to go. So here we are on turn 17, again going pretty late in the turns as we did in the first game. This one felt like a very different lobby, like a very
Yep.
different lobby. In fact, we didn't spend a lot of time in the top three. These players are both going crazy with their boards.
Hmm. Uh, just to make a comment that chat said, I think a large portion of what comes down to it this game is going to be whether or not Geppetto just finds a Mixo Macho, because
Yeah,
Freestop cannot dodge a Mixo Macho at this point.
no, not possible. So wherever you want to put them up, you generally would want to be in slot five, and maybe that's why the Mockingbird goes into slot five for free stop. Because if they do find the Mixo, it is your smallest character. It's still way too big and would be a problem for you. But yeah, yeah, maybe worth considering. I don't know if it is, because I feel like if you get any of these stats on Mop, it's going to be big. As we summon Goodie Bag in slot one yet again.
Well, it's a chip on the ship, right? We know Goodie Bag's going to be resummoned into slot
Oh,
one.
you're right. You're right. You're right. I
Yep.
I haven't been watching closely enough, apparently. Yeah, good call. Okay, well, just like we were saying, a Mixo could be relevant here. Uh, our opponent would be out without the Lich King's Heart. So this could be where the Lich King's Heart saves the day. I think it's a very strong treasure that is maybe underrated by some players. You know, when
And
they
now
took it, they still had three hearts, but it ends up being impactful here.
And I'll note that now that we're on the last turn or two of the game, we've replaced the mechanical dragon, since it's not that much important anymore, with a much, much, much larger three blind mice. I
Yep.
think uh, I think that's probably game short of a Mixo Macho or something really, really, really ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the Mixo is the one thing that Drajan is hoping to hit. But if Drajan does hit a Mixo, then how do we answer that? That's a very difficult puzzle to try to solve in only one turn if we were to lose here. So interesting top two that we have here.
I do not see a Mixo.
I don't either. Do we think that settles it? I think it does. I don't really see a way that Drajan is going to be able to get through.
I mean, the only way I can possibly see it is a really ridiculous sequence out of the goodie bag.
All right.
That's not going to
Well,
do it. Yeah.
there's still some monkeys to summon. They are pretty decent size, but they're not going to be big enough. Well, that is doing it in style by Freestop. We only ended up playing two games, but Freestop first place in both of the games. Listen, winning is fantastic, but winning in style, I feel like you get some bonus style points.
Yeah.
Freestop, GG.
Very good. Very good. Good game.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to watch. I'm glad we got to spectate freestyle for this entire lobby. That was nice as well, to be able to see a beginning to end run and navigate their own board as well as their opponents. And I want to go back and say again, the collector. I mean, we found the pieces that we wanted, and we found them in a timely manner. The mechanical dragon, certainly one that I'm speaking of, but the worm scale tinkerer as well. And yeah, that the captain did everything it needed to do to put us in a position to be able to take it home in the end. So yeah, big GG. Okay, well, this is going to conclude our six-player invitational. Thank you very much to the players for playing. Apologies for a little bit of technical difficulty that was mixed in, but overall, everything went off mostly without a hitch. Thank you, Alexis, for all of the things, for getting the Spectate client in a position where it's working well enough for us to use. For everything else that you do for the game. Maybe everybody here doesn't know how important you are to the Million Dreams Games team, but appreciate all of that, and obviously appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for everyone who showed up to play, everyone who showed up to watch. I really appreciate you sitting through this while we, again, work through some technical difficulties and some process difficulties. This was very much an experiment, and I hope we do some more experiments in the future so we can continue to improve on this and make a really, really great experience for all of our competitive players.
And thanks everybody for watching. I was watching chat. I didn't respond and interact with chat because this is also going up on YouTube, so I didn't want to have a lot of side conversations going. But I did see your comments. Appreciate them. If you have any other feedback, feel free to share. The Million Dreams Games team appreciates all feedback, no matter what it is. If you have an opinion and you'd like to share it, please do that. There are a number of ways to do that in the Discord. You can share them with me personally here in this stream. If you're new to this stream and you enjoyed yourself and you want to come back, I typically play live lobbies and I host them. Anybody can join. So if that's something you're interested in and the time that I stream works for you, this is my normal stream time. By the way, you're invited to come back. A lot of good players hang out here. We have some fun discussions, largely about the game, but also sometimes it goes outside and beyond the game as well. So anybody's welcome to join. I think we have a great community here. I'm very thankful for the community. And yeah, GG's to everybody. As far as the gems, Freestyle will be receiving a total of 1,500 gems. Spend those wisely, or just get every new skin that comes out. Whatever you want to do. Freestyle, it's up to you. All the other players will receive 500 gems as well. We'll make sure you get those. Cheers, everybody. Thank you very much. I look forward, as Alexis mentioned, to doing things like this in the future. We are learning things as we do this. We're having fun. Hopefully you did as well. All right. We'll see you in the next one. Any last words, Alexis?
I just wanted to say, if you like watching Galaxy, and especially if you like participating in live lobbies, I strongly recommend you follow me as well with notifications. I stream maybe once a month on average, not super common, but when I do tend to do some amount of live lobbies as well. And I also just really like talking about the game with our users and going over, what we're doing, why we're doing it. I'm very, very open to questions. Feel free to ask me essentially anything, not just in this situation, but we have a Discord, super active. Please, give us your feedback. We love your feedback. Follow me on Blue Sky. I ask questions. I can answer questions there. Just whatever you want to do. We really like the feedback. We really like the community. And we're here to make a game that's awesome for everybody. So thank you for showing up.
For the people that are on YouTube or people that might not know you, you ask them to follow you, and I agree. You should absolutely do that. But where should they follow you?
Absolutely. On Twitch, you can follow me at Drajjon. That's Drajon. I pronounce it Dragon, but either way is fine. And on Blue Sky, if you want to follow me there, I'm at alexisjanson.com, at ALEXISJANSON.com.
Okay, big shout out to Alexis. Make sure you tap in with Alexis. And yeah, thanks again, everybody. We appreciate you all and look forward to doing more of this in the future. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.